Hi everyone, I'm Alice and I am so excited to share some nature news wins with you this week. Let me start off by saying that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were elected the new president and vice president of the United States, which means that the more than 100 environmental rollbacks that President Trump overturned will most likely be reversed in his first year in office. And Joe Biden already agreed to re-enter into the Paris Climate Accord, which the US actually exited just last week. And that means that our air quality, our water quality, our wildlife, and our health are going to be better protected. So that's a big win-win for everyone. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Americans may actually be adding 5 times more plastic into the oceans than previously thought. And we actually contribute more plastic waste than China into the environment. Now, 2 factors have actually contributed to this sharp increase. Americans are using more plastic than ever before, so don't be part of that problem. And this current study actually also included pollution that was generated by US exports of plastic waste, while the earlier one did not. Now, in America, we have a huge problem with the mismanagement of waste and recycling. And that's because we actually don't have sufficient infrastructure in our country to handle our recycling demands, which means we actually end up exporting about half of all the recyclable waste that this country generates. And of the total exported, about 88% actually ends up in countries considered to have inadequate waste management. And many countries are no longer even buying this waste at all. China stopped doing it in 2018. More countries are following suit. So what's the solution? Well, using less plastic for one, and trying to reduce or eliminate entirely single-use plastic altogether. And if you need some tips on reducing plastic or being more sustainable, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and check out my blog for some money-saving, eco-friendly tips. And don't forget to drop a comment too with the hashtag Nature News on things you're doing right now to reduce the amount of plastic that you use, or other things you're doing right now to be more sustainable. Another new study shows that rewilding is the key to reducing carbon emissions and reducing species loss. Now, we've talked about this in other weeks, but this study analyzed data from biomes all over the world, which covered an area of almost 3 billion hectares, which is about 7 billion acres, that were turned from natural habitats into farmlands, concluded that rewilding is the key to recovery. Now, the tropics were the most important biome for restoration, and preserving these natural habitats and restoring 30% of the total converted land would actually save 71% of animal species from extinction. And this would also absorb 465 gigatons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is actually roughly half of all the carbon emitted since the start of the Industrial Revolution. Now, this is why I keep talking to you guys about rewilding, because it is extremely important. Now, speaking of forests, Chinese and their demand for rosewood is actually gutting Senegal's forests. Now, this has been going on for over a decade, and now there are almost no rosewood trees left in Senegal. This illegal logging has actually also destroyed native nut trees and other species that local people harvest for food. And a new study shows that over an 8-year period, more than 1.6 million of these trees were actually illegally logged. And they're actually being exported from neighboring country Gambia directly into China. Now, Gambia actually logged all of their rosewood trees to extinction several years back, and now they've turned to illegally logging them out of Senegal to sell them to China. There's more on this and all of these stories in the description below if you want to read a little bit more about any of them. The ARAL Sea, have you heard of it? It was actually once the 4th largest inland lake in the world. Today, however, it's a reminder of grave environmental malpractice. Now, there are 60 million people in 6 countries that rely on the rivers that feed into the Aral Sea, and they, like the lake, are actually drying up. Now, after the fracturing of the Soviet Union in the 1960s, industrial projects popped up and started sucking the lake dry. It was a slow process, but now 60 years later, the lake covers just 17% of the area it once did. And this should be a big reminder to all of us that water needs to be managed across state and country borders, because it is our most precious natural resource. We may have a new green fuel to tackle climate change. It's called green hydrogen, and it actually uses renewable energy to produce hydrogen from water, and it's taking off around the globe. Its boosters say that the fuel could play an important role in decarbonizing hard-to-electrify sectors of the economy, such as long-haul trucking, aviation, and heavy manufacturing. And they're actually planning to use this in Saudi Arabia, where they're actually planning to build a futuristic city that has flying cars and robots. And it's going to be powered with green hydrogen. Now, this carbon-free fuel is made from water by using renewable produced electricity to actually split the hydrogen molecules from the oxygen molecules. Now, according to an energy analyst at the NRDC, which is the Natural Resource Defense Council, this type of energy could actually be used to power energy-intensive industries like steel manufacturing, shipping, aviation, and concrete production. I'm super interested to see the developments in this. And if you want to voice your climate concerns, you can check out the website and app We Don't Have Time. And you can also download the browser extension UCapture that supports climate projects when you shop online. And that's all I've got for you guys this week. There's links on everything mentioned, as well as those 2 websites in the description below. Don't forget to share with a friend before you go. I will see you next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe and that like button too before you go.